In my family, there were only two roles: the golden child and the reliable disappointment. My sister Clara was the golden one, the daughter my father proudly introduced to neighbors, cow-workers, even strangers in grocery store lines. "She's brilliant," he would say with a smile. "She's going to do amazing things." Clara had a way of accepting praise as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She didn't blush. She didn't argue. She simply absorbed it, like sunlight warming a room. And then there was me. I wasn't a failure. I wasn't reckless or lazy. I did everything people usually tell their kids to do. I studied. I worked hard. I tried to be responsible. But somehow, no matter what I accomplished, it always felt like I had arrived at the party after all the applause had already been given to someone else. Clara wasn't just loved. She was celebrated. I was tolerated. And over time, something strange happened inside our family. Clara became the future, and I became the background. When my father died, the lawyer scheduled a meeting 2 weeks later. Clara and I sat across from his desk in a quiet office that smelled faintly of old books and polished wood. Clara wore black and held a tissue delicately between her fingers. But if you watched her carefully, you could see something else behind the performance of grief. Anticipation. She wasn't just mourning our father. She was waiting for confirmation of something she had believed her entire life, that everything would eventually belong to her. The lawyer adjusted his glasses and opened a folder. Then he began to read. "To my daughter Clara, I leave the family home, my investment accounts, and full ownership of the consulting business." Clara lowered her head as if trying to appear humble, but the corners of her mouth curved upward. Then the lawyer continued. "To my son," he paused briefly, "I leave nothing." The words landed like a physical weight in the room. For a moment, I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger, not even surprise, just a quiet confirmation of what I had always suspected. Clara looked up slowly and smiled. Not cruelly, not dramatically, just a small, satisfied smile that said, "Of course." But then something unexpected happened. The lawyer didn't close the folder. Instead, he reached into his desk drawer and carefully placed a second item on the table. It was a black envelope sealed with wax. The room grew very quiet. "This," the lawyer said calmly, "was left with strict instructions by your father." I looked directly at Clara. "I was told not to open this unless certain conditions were met." Clara frowned slightly. "What conditions?" The lawyer folded his hands. "Your father instructed me to wait until the will had been read, and until Clara made it clear how she intended to handle the estate." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Clara leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. "Well, that's simple," she said. "The will is clear." She glanced at me briefly. "You'll be taking responsibility for everything." The lawyer studied her quietly. Then he nodded. "Very well." He broke the wax seal and opened the second envelope. Growing up, the rules in our house were never written down, but everyone understood them. Clara was exceptional. Clara was special. Clara deserved opportunities. Clara deserved opportunities. Clara failed. It was because the world didn't understand her brilliance. When I failed, it was because I hadn't tried hard enough. It wasn't always cruel. Sometimes it was subtle. When Clara got average grades, my father would say she was bored by school. When I got good grades, he would say I was finally applying myself. When Clara quit a job after 2 months, He called it searching for the right path. When I changed jobs after 3 years, he warned me about lack of commitment. Over time, I stopped expecting fairness. I learned something simpler. Approval wasn't a reward. It was something Clara already owned. And I was simply renting space in the house. Then my father became sick, very sick. The doctors spoke in careful tones. They used phrases like limited time and comfort care. Hospitals have a way of changing people. Some families grow closer. Others quietly fall apart. Clara visited once. She said hospitals made her anxious. The machines, the smells, the tension in the air. After that, she sent messages from vacation destinations instead. Photos of beaches, photos of restaurants, photos of expensive wine glasses raised toward sunsets. Meanwhile, I spent almost every evening sitting beside my father's hospital bed. I handled the insurance paperwork. I spoke with nurses. I made sure he ate when he could. Sometimes we sat together in silence for hours. And sometimes, when he thought I wasn't looking, he would write in a small leather journal he kept beside the bed. Page after page. He never explained what he was writing. He never thanked me for staying. He never said the words I had secretly hoped to hear my entire life. But occasionally he would look at me with an expression I couldn't quite understand, something thoughtful, something distant, almost like he was seeing me clearly for the first time. Psychologists often talk about a family dynamic called triangulation. It happens when one parent creates a silent competition between siblings. One child becomes the symbol of pride, the other becomes the symbol of disappointment. Neither role is healthy. The golden child feels pressure to remain perfect. The scapegoat feels pressure to constantly prove their worth. But the parent benefits, because both children remain emotionally dependent on their approval. In our family, Clara was the golden child, and I was the scapegoat. But what my father eventually realized was something many parents only discover too late. Golden children sometimes grow up believing that admiration is their birthright. And when admiration becomes an expectation, empathy slowly disappears. Back in the lawyer's office, the second envelope contained several documents. The lawyer read them slowly. The first was a private investigator's report. For 3 years, Clara had been forging my father's signature. She had used it to access funds from one of his accounts. The total amount taken was just over $200,000. The money had not been invested. It had been lost. Gambling. The room went completely silent. Clara's confident posture disappeared instantly. "What is this?" she demanded. "What is this?" she demanded. The lawyer continued reading. "If my daughter Clara chooses to claim the estate without offering equal consideration to her brother, the original will is to be considered void." Clara stared at him. "You can't be serious." The lawyer calmly lifted another document. "This is the revised will." He looked at me. "The entire estate is transferred to the son. The house, the business, the investments. Everything." Clara stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous." But the lawyer wasn't finished. "There is also a legal statement attached." He closed the folder. "The investigation report has already been forwarded to the authorities." Clara's face turned pale. Within 20 minutes, the police arrived. I didn't watch as they placed handcuffs around her wrists. I couldn't. Instead, I opened the old toolbox that had been left to me. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a rusted collection of old tools. But at the bottom, beneath everything else, there was a folded letter. My father's handwriting covered the front. I sat there in the quiet office and opened it. Inside were only a few sentences. I know I spent your life looking in the wrong direction. I mistook charm for character. And I mistook silence for weakness. I'm sorry it took me this long to see you. For the first time in my life, my father had finally said the words I had waited decades to hear. Fairness is a strange thing. It doesn't always arrive when we want it. Sometimes it appears years later, quietly balancing scales we thought would never move again. If you grew up as the scapegoat in your family, remember something important. Your value is not determined by who praised you. Character has a way of revealing itself over time. And eventually, truth becomes impossible to ignore. So I leave you with a question. If you were in that room, would you forgive the father who realized too late? Or would the apology come after too many years of silence? Comment justice if you believe the truth eventually finds its way to the surface.